All right, welcome everybody to Board of Education meeting. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Sean Callan. Julie Chetney.
Here.
Tom Chiappa.
Here.
David Christofoli.
Here.
Jim McKenzie is here. Kristen Norfleet.
Here.
Sean Onmock.
Here.
And Michael Pestella. Please rise for the pledge, please. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. So the first item is the floor to the public, and we do have one person. So before we get to that, just real quick, the Oswego City School District's Board of Education welcomes public comment at this portion of the meeting using the following guidelines. Each speaker who signed up is permitted 3 minutes for their comments. Speakers may not yield remaining time to others. All comments must be directed to the board president. The board will listen to the comments, and input will not necessarily debate or discuss items. Operational matters will be directed to school administration for handling. The board is not permitted to address personnel or individual student matters in open session. The board will limit repetitive, never mind, there's only one person. The board president has the authority to end a speaker's comments or close public comment as appropriate. Any additional written correspondences or letters may be directed to the board clerk for distribution to the board. The board expects proper decorum at all times, and all speakers should state their full name and address. So I have Valerie Baxter has signed up. So Valerie?
State my name.
Name and address, please. Thank you.
Valerie Baxter. I live in Ontario Street in Oswego. I'm here to address the Board of Education regarding a massive problem the district has with bullying, harassment, and physical violence of students. And I have some questions and concerns regarding the implementation of DASA and school and state policies. My family has been a part of the district. District since 2016, and there have been issues ever since. When my daughters attended Layton, they've dealt with harassment and bullying. My one daughter received death threats and continued harassment for almost 3 years. Last year, my older daughter moved on to the middle school where she was again harassed and bullied by other students. My one daughter who remained in Layton was choked and punched in the face at Brightbeck by another classmate, which resulted in her not wanting to leave the house to go to the park. And then there's my son. The relentless bullying he has had to endure from the last year to now. Last year, I was called to pick up my son for his safety because another student had threatened to jump him. On many occasions, there were threats of different kids wanting to fight him. On one occasion, a student walked into the office during the day, went into the counselor's office, and stole my son's personal information from the counselor's school tool account. The student then posted the information he screenshotted from the computer to Snapchat, stating, "If you want to beat up this kid, here's his address." He posted my son's name, picture, our home address, and his grade information. We tried pressing charges with the police, and we were told later that the school informed them no criminal activity had occurred. At the end of last year, my son was suspended for punching a kid who he had reported in the past, but this was never reported to administration by the teacher. In June, my son called the cops when he was home alone because another student from school threatened to come and kill him. In July, someone searched and added my son by name on Snapchat and started sending him messages describing in explicit detail what they were going to do to my son and then leave him dead in the street. And on August 23rd, 1 week before school started this year, my son was gang assaulted on school property by 4 students he didn't know, 3 of which are from Oswego. We pressed charges and followed investigators' suggestions, which was to inform the school and file a DASA report. We filed a DASA report, and the DASA report was unfounded. And I would like to know why. The principal gave me an excuse stating that it was not within protected classes, and I've done my research. I have become certified in DASA as accredited by New York State, just so I know what all of you can know. Because this is never ending for not just my family, it's for a lot of families. I know parents stood before the board in 2016 and raised these same issues, and you guys were audited, and you were found to not be filing reports accordingly. This is out there. What are you doing about it? Because it's still not being done. In 2021 and 22 school year, there were 4 incidences, serious incidences, threats against the school, bomb threats, threats of violence that are not recorded in the SEC reports. Why? Why aren't these recorded? Why is this information not be recorded? Why aren't you guys doing your jobs? I don't know how long all of you have served on the board. I know the positions change over the years, and there's a lot of problems with swinging door administration. I spoke with Mr. Kilmer the other day on the phone, and he assured me that he had a lot of plans for the school district over the next couple of years. My question is, are you going to be in this position in the next couple of years? Because we have had multiple superintendents, we've had multiple of principals in administration, and they all come in and say that they're going to do something, and nothing is done. You have parents that come, and I've talked to parents who go through the same things. They're going through the same stuff, and they say the same thing: you guys do nothing. Nothing is done. Mrs. Fierro has been a principal of the middle school for a long time. She's praised for a lot of things that she does.
If I may interrupt you, please. I've let you go well past the 3 minutes allotted because I do think very much that this group does want to hear what you have to say. I will say that we cannot be commenting on individual employees in open session. And so I think this is probably a good time to say that you've spoken with Dr. Kilmer. We very much have heard you. And as you will be seeing, one of the things that we are going to be stressing as a board is going to be the safety of our children across the district. And so I can't offer you any specifics at the moment, all right, because that is not this part of the meeting. Generally, as I read in the beginning, we generally don't comment. But I
didn't expect you to comment.
I understand. So I will just say that, Dr. Kilmer may have something to say.
No, I'll follow up with you again, Mrs. Baxter. Maybe schedule an appointment where you and I can sit and talk some more, so in the end, I can answer some of your questions very specifically.
I would like to add that in 2017, Ms. Fierro was praised for being the principal of the year. She reduced disciplinary measures by 64%.
Ma'am, again, I've got to say, no, thank you very much.
How that happened.
Please, no,
How did that happen?
This is not a place to be making these kinds of comments.
This isn't a place to discuss issues
No,
with the students?
ma'am, if there are particular things that you have about individual employees, the avenue to do is to speak with Dr. Kilmer. That is what we need to do in these circumstances. The open board meeting is not the forum to be talking about specific individuals that work for the district.
Okay,
It's a matter of different forums. This is not that.
I got it. You can praise them, but you can't talk about what's questionable.
Okay, next on the agenda is from the Board of Education. We have the approval of our external audit report from 2022 to 2023. Can I get a motion for that, please?
I'll make a motion.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Is this where we're going to have discussion with Mr. Zuber? Yes. Okay, so we do have Mr. Zuber here to talk a little bit about the audit report.
Good evening. You should have in your board packets the basic financial statements, internal control communication, and so you do have the year-end financial statements. And this financial statement really is the result of a budget process that you started almost 2 years ago. And as you know, there's been a lot of unique things that have happened over those 2 years. including kind of the tail end of COVID, as well as, the different grants that the school district received, specifically relating to the federal stimulus dollars. So a lot of different things that have gone on, and really the different challenges that all school districts face in New York State, including things like state aid uncertainties, certainly things like employee benefit challenges, which we'll talk about today, things like the federal stimulus dollars and the challenges relating to that. So a lot of different challenges out there. We did review the basic financial statements with the audit committee back on October 5th. We had a very nice discussion, talked about the financial statements for almost 45 minutes, talked about a lot of information, including year-over-year variances, the reserve accounts. We talked about the budget variances, internal controls, and checks and balances. So a lot of good information during that meeting. Again, the district did end the year in a very good financial position. And again, when we look at the financial position of the school district, we're really looking at the year-end fund balances and reserves and how that relates to the district's long-term plan. And as you know, the district does have and developed different reserves over the years, okay? Specifically, some of the key reserves, the employee retirement and the teacher's retirement contribution reserves. Again, very beneficial reserves. Really, they help offset some of the future costs or the costs relating to those programs. Certainly, the rates are set by New York State, and you folks have to pay whatever those rates are, so those rates can go up and down. And these reserves are really there to help offset some of those challenges with those benefit programs. You also have the capital reserve. As you know, that, again, a very, very positive reserve to have. That's one of the more restrictive reserves because, as you know, the voters vote to create those reserves. The board funds those reserves, and then the voters vote to utilize those reserves. And as you know, you do have a capital reserve that really has been maxed out. So you have a little over $10 million in that capital reserve, which the voters approved the creation of that reserve. So again, very positive. Those reserves really will reduce the long-term impact or the impact of a capital project, will really help reduce the local taxpayer costs. So again, very beneficial reserve. You also have a few flexible reserves, unemployment, workers' comp reserve, again, very beneficial reserves to have out there. Again, you did allocate some dollars into those reserves at the end of the year. So again, very positive from the long-term financial position of the school district. Where those dollars came from, your revenues continue to be strong, okay? You collected a little over $102 million in revenues, okay? So a little bit more than you had anticipated. A couple unique areas relating to reimbursement from BOCES, from their financial results really is the biggest driver of that. Interest earnings came in a little bit higher than anticipated, primarily because of the rates out there. So a couple unique items on the revenue side. On the expenditure side, as you know, some of the challenges there you face is relating to the benefit program. And as you know, you're self-funded for your employee benefits, okay? And as a result, you're subject to the volume of transactions that happen from one year to the next. And as you know, and if you recall, the board did amend the budget to help cover some of those increases in health insurance costs. So again, one of the challenges that you folks face, but you were able to amend the budget for that. So again, very positive from the long-term financial standpoint, okay? So those are some of the key items there. One of the other programs that the district has that has been very successful at relates to the school lunch program. As you know, that relates to the cafeteria, and as you know, you folks are part of the CP program. So most of your students are receiving the free meals. As a result, your financial condition of that program is very positive. In fact, you have about a $750,000 fund balance in that program. So you're slightly above the federal regulation. As you know, the federal government says you want to kind of maintain an average 3-month expenditure, which is about $594,000. So you're above that. You do have a plan that SCD is approved to utilize those cafeteria dollars. So again, it's something that you'll continue to monitor going forward. And this is what we typically see with school districts that have this type of program because your participation has really gone up, okay? And so that generates some additional federal dollars. So again, just an area to monitor. We did have a few other procedural items in our internal control communication. So in addition to the financial statements that we issued, we did issue an internal control communication. Again, that's where we had to document all of the different checks and balances over the school district financial cycles. We interview the staff. We kind of document the process and procedures over things like payroll, how folks work and how that gets entered into the system and reviewed and approved. And again, pleased to report no material weaknesses or significant deficiencies, a few minor procedural items, really to enhance the checks and balances for the district. Okay? So again, we did meet with the audit committee, spent quite a bit of time reviewing the financial statements. Do you have any questions?
Okay, thank you very much.
Great, thank you.
Appreciate your time.
Yep, have a good night.
Are there any other comments on the motion? Having heard none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries. B is membership to the Central New York School Board Association. Can I get a motion, please?
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Tom. Can I get a second?
A second.
Thank you, Sean. All right, Tom, you were going to talk a little bit about this?
Yeah, Central New York School Board Association is a smaller version of NISBA that handles the Central New York region. And there's also the Oswego County School Boards Association, which handles almost all of the schools in Oswego County. And I represent our district on that board, and as a result have moved to the Central New York School Boards Association. They're looking to waive our fees, and I think Ray brought it out in the weekly communication, that they would give us a scholarship, so we wouldn't have any dues. But what they offer us are very much the same things that NISBA does, but closer geographically and cheaper as well. When I first was on the board, we were members of both CNY School Boards Association and NISBA, and then we fell away from CNY. But anyway, they're looking for us to become members and waiving the fee. It's the other asset that they have is Rick Timms works there. And Rick Timms was integral in us getting the substantial state aid increase that we did, because he was the one who pushed and had a lawsuit with the state that moved forward so that we got the formula enacted, which in the past years people would say it's never going to happen, and that was our big increase. He's great. He's a wonderful asset. He's there. He could come and speak to us. He could come and advise us, and that's another benefit for our joining the school boards. One other thing I just wanted to say, they're having a round table, and which everybody here would have access to, and it's on the 25th. It's virtual, and Rick Timms is going to be talking about electric buses and how to look forward into utilizing and where everything's going with electric buses.
Will we get an invite for that? Do you
Pardon
think?
me?
Will we get like an invite for that? or-
Yes. As soon as I get the link, I'll send it to everybody. But it'll be on the 25th, and again, Rick is a tremendous asset.
All right, thank you, Tom. Any other comments, questions? Having heard none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries. Next up is we have the first reading of two policies. The first policy, 3420, non-discrimination, anti-harassment in the district, and policy 6121, sexual harassment in the workplace. So if I can have a motion for the first reading of these two policies, please.
I'll move it.
Thank you, Sean. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Kristen. Are there any questions or comments? Remember, this is a first reading. This is required that we do this, and then we'll have a second reading before they're finalized. Okay. Having heard none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Wonderful, motion carries. Superintendent's report, Dr. Kilmer.
Thank you. First, I want to start off by recognizing our school board. NISBA recognizes October 16th through 20th as School Board Recognition Week. It's a time to promote awareness and understanding for the important work performed by local school boards. Public schools form the bedrock of our communities and our country. Democracy thrives with educated citizens capable of critical thinking and civil discourse. And it's our local school boards who are ultimately responsible for student success. It takes strong schools to build a strong community, And I'm proud to work with all of you who devote countless hours to making sure our schools are helping every child learn. So thank you for your service to this community. A big congratulations to the Marching Bucks who traveled to Maryland to compete in the Bands of America Regional at Townsend University this past weekend. I'm told they did an outstanding job, even though the weather was not ideal. And they may have had a little hiccup with a radiator hose on the bus headed down, but they made it all safely and back. So we're so thankful that they did such an excellent job of representing Oswego. I do want to just emphasize November 7th statewide election. I'd like to bring to the board's attention and our community's attention that on November 7th, there is a proposed amendment to the state constitution that would remove the special constitutional debt limitation now placed on small city school districts. Voter approval of the proposed constitutional amendment would not give small city schools special treatment. Rather, it would allow them to have the same debt limit as their suburban and rural counterparts. I encourage everyone to do their own research on the amendment and, more importantly, get out and vote on November 7th. But that's Proposition 1. I'd like to thank the Buck Boosters and all of our students and staff and community members that participated in this year's homecoming parade, but most importantly, all of Spirit Week. What an incredible event. It was so nice to see and be a part of all of our students K-12 marching in the parade, showing their Buck pride. What a truly wonderful event to be a part of. A big shout out to the DPW, Oswego Fire, Oswego Police for also helping and making that such a great event for all of our students. I'd like to thank Amanda Caldwell and her team for finalizing our plans for our Staff Development Day coming up next Friday, the 27th. These PD days provide excellent opportunities for our teachers to get much needed training and, of course, to collaborate not only within the district, but through our colleagues throughout the county as well. And so we're looking forward to that. And just to let you all know, there is the Fall NYSBA Conference, October 26th to 28th. Both Tom and myself will be attending, and we'll be happy to report what we learn at the November meeting. That's it for my report.
Thank you very much. Turn that on first. Thank you. So next are committee discussions. Anybody have something to report out from their committees?
Yeah, I just wanted to mention that the Facilities Committee will be getting together tomorrow with Ray and representatives from King and King to learn more about our direction as we finish and head towards the completion of the capital project and future phases. So we have that plan for tomorrow, and we'll certainly come back to the board for future discussions and our plan moving forward.
Great. Thank you, Sean. Any other committees?
Actually wanted to bring one thing up. I forgot when Tom was there. In the audit committee, we spoke about the applying for the ability to set up a health insurance reserve fund. And I don't know if that's something, Ray, we have to bring to the board and vote on that and start the application. But it would give us the ability to have a reserve that would be dedicated for those situations, so we wouldn't have to take money and move it over. We'd have be able to build up that reserve so when costs are high and the self-insure component of our fund, we'd be able to cover it. So I just wanted to put that out again while I recalled it.
Great. Yes, I do believe we'll be talking about creation of that in the future. Yep. Thank you, Tom. Okay, so next on the agenda is the consent agenda. So I'm going to group these together. So we have A, the girls hockey team overnight, B, capital project allowance, C is an audit report from September, D is the special education report from 10/17. We have the high school extra classroom report and the middle school extra classroom report and the minutes of our last meeting. So if I can have a motion for A through G, please.
I'll move it.
Thank you, David. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Tom. Any discussion, comments, questions? Hear none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries. We don't have curriculum and personnel.
Good evening, everyone. Under personnel, our first two items are retirement. So the first one is Catherine Pepper. She's a teaching assistant at Minetto, and she's been with the district since January 18th, 2001, and her retirement date is January 8th, 2024. Our second one is for Karen Lloyd. She's a library clerk at Charles E. Riley Elementary, and she's been with the district since September 5th, 2006 through and her retirement date is January 2nd, 2024. So items A and B as presented.
Thank you. Can I have a motion, please?
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Tom. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Julie. Any discussion?
Just like to say thank you very much for all those years of service. We appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries.
Item C is an administrative staff recommendation. This is for our interim executive director of business and finance, Mr. Peter Calucci, as presented.
Okay, can I have a motion, please?
I'll move it.
Thank you, David. A second?
I'll second.
Sean? Is there any comment, discussion, questions? I heard none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries.
Our next group is professional staff recommendations, items D through F, as presented.
Thank you. Can I have a motion for D through F, please?
I'll move.
Thank you, Kristen. A second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Tom. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay, motion carries.
Your next grouping is for support staff recommendations, and that's items G through K as presented.
Okay, can I have a motion for G through K?
I'll move it.
Thank you, Sean. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Kristen. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries.
And our last group is substitutes, temporary employees, and some extra compensatory positions there. So that's items L through M as presented.
Okay, so if we can have a motion for L through N, please.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Tom. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Julie. Any discussion? Heard none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
All right, finance.
Good evening. I'm going to loop these together. Item A is request for budget transfer, as well as item B. Item C is a donation. Item D is another request for budget transfer. Doesn't say, oh, okay, item E, I'm sorry, is a contract with OCO for our runaway and homeless youth. Item F is the agreement with Oswego Yacht Club. And item G is also a different agreement with Oswego Yacht Club. Item H is a contract and agreement with City BOCES for Farnham services. Item I is an external corrective action plan, external audit corrective action plan. Item J is the final, as of June 30th, 2023, funding of the unemployment reserve. Item K is the June 2023 funding of the capital reserve as presented.
Great, thank you. So can I get a motion, please, for A through K?
I'll make a motion.
Thank you, Julie.
I'll second.
Second. Thank you, Kristen. Any discussion? I would just like to point out, as Mr. Zuber said, we're fully funding our capital reserve at this point. So with this addition, we have maxed out the $10 million that have been approved by voters. And to me, this is very exciting because as Sean mentioned, we're going to be talking in the audit committee about the final stages of the 2018 project. Well, we're going to be starting to talk about the next project. Hopefully getting it out to the voters in 2024 would be a nice plan. So as the board works through it with the construction people, with Dr. Kilmore, it's nice to see that we fully funded this now. This is a great first start to getting that next big capital project moving. So, any other comments or questions? Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? All right, motion carries. Student representative, Michael.
Good evening. I have nothing new to say, but I do have two things I want to bring up quickly. From the student perspective, Spirit Week was a huge success. I was able to go to the varsity boys soccer game against Auburn, and they played very well. So congratulations to them, and congratulations to Daniel for his goal. I was wondering if we had any updates on the Wi-Fi situation and the cameras in the student parking lot that I brought up 2 and 4 weeks ago, respectively. So I was just wondering if there was any movement on that or any updates. Thank you.
So I don't have an update on Wi-Fi yet. There is a plan in place for cameras. I don't have the complete plan yet on understanding where all of the new cameras are going to be going, but the student parking lot is a priority.
Wonderful. All right, thank you, Michael. Items from the board. Does anybody have anything you'd like to bring forward?
I do, Jim.
Kristen?
I solicited the expertise of Matt Bach to assist me, because I just wanted to point out a few things. To start, I wanted to commend the coaches for girls varsity volleyball, who have done a number of theme nights this season. I got pictures and information on a couple of them. One of them was first responders, where they invited a number of our local community heroes to be honored at the start of a game and challenged each of them to serve the volleyball over the net. I missed this game. I think I was at a board meeting, actually, but I'm told that very few of them could serve the ball. And so they're all listed here, who was honored with a picture with the girls who invited them. On another night, they invited teachers to come. Same thing, each varsity volleyball athlete presented a gift to a teacher that they invited to be there, and again, challenged them to serve the ball over the net. I was at this event, and I can tell you that almost every teacher was able to serve the ball over the net. And some of them took it a little more seriously than others. I might mention Eric McCroby. It was a great event. I think the teachers really appreciated being singled out like this by a specific student. Each student wrote something about the teacher as to why they selected them. And it was a variety of things, from inspiring them to being a listening ear. And I think it was a really good opportunity for those who were there to hear about the ways teachers are impacting students on more personal levels. As I was putting this together, I learned that soccer did something very similar. Actually, we're going to go, doesn't matter. I want to give a shout out to Gavin Ruggiero, who shot 3 under par at the Section 3 golf tournament, which made him the best scorer of the day, and to the varsity golf team in general, who once again represented our community well. The golf team has traditionally been very, very good, and this year is no exception. I wanted to make sure that the community was aware at what good ambassadors they are for Oswego. Yep, and now going to girls soccer, not to be outdone by volleyball. They also have hosted a number of theme nights, including first responders. They hosted kids from the youth soccer program. They did a kick-out cancer night. They did a meet and greet with the 2 modified teams, and they also did a teacher appreciation. I have photos here from the teacher appreciation. Admittedly, I got the photos from Megan Donabello, which is why it's her, but she was honored by one of the students on the team and not her daughter, and I know that she appreciated that very much. And the last thing I wanted to say, on behalf of girls volleyball, I was approached by the team mom, who was quite teary yesterday as she was telling me the story. She organized T-shirts for their cancer awareness event tonight, which is called Dig Pink and Spike Teal. And she was passing out the shirts, and she realized that Dr. Kilmer ordered a shirt. And when she was telling me the story, she literally had tears in her eyes and said that since she's been involved with the volleyball program, dating back to her son, who graduated in 2021, from 7th grade forward, that no superintendent has ever ordered a theme shirt for the boys or girls volleyball program. And she was so touched that the superintendent was supporting their efforts, and felt that it was such an example of how the district is moving in a different direction and how proud she was to be a part of it. So tonight is the girls volleyball Dig Pink and Spike Peel. So after you leave here, please go over to Layton and watch their game. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Kristen. Any other items from the board? Julie?
Yes, I just wanted to piggyback on Dr. Kilmer and just comment on last week's events. It was a true collaboration of our entire district and our community. I think some of you at the table and in the community may know that the planning for that week started last spring with our athletic director, then our principal of the high school at the time, student advisors of the classes, as well as the city. So that being said, it really came together beautifully. And I want to say that, most importantly, very exciting, I wanted to give a shout out to the Marching Buccaneers as well, who did join us at the parade. And it took our parade to a whole new level. And they were excited to be there, and all of the students were excited. And it was really pretty cool to see kids from kindergarten all the way up to seniors having such a spirited event. So thank you to everyone, parents, teachers, administration, the community, businesses, you name it. I can't think of one person that didn't contribute to that event. So it was a really great week to be a Buccaneer.
Matt, I think you may have video available for us, don't you?
Thank you. Good, Julie. Anybody else?
Yeah.
Sean?
Well, Ray recommended or commended the board, Board Appreciation Week and everything. And the time that we put in, I think I can speak for my 6 colleagues up here, that stuff right there, it makes it all worth it. So, the time and the dedication, when something like that comes together and you contribute to a culture that is that when you're walking up before the parade started to Kingsford Park School, I was just all by myself and I was walking up the sidewalk and I couldn't believe it. So it's all worth it. And I think we're all in on this type of stuff.
Thank you, Sean. Anybody else? Okay. So we do not have need for an executive session tonight. So is there a motion to adjourn?
Make the motion.
Thank you, Tom. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Kristen. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Wonderful. Thank you. Have a good night, everybody. Remember, the volleyball game is across the street in Layton.